Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zolotech, and we've had a busy week of updates with new news about a new Mac Mini finally, iPhone 16 production, and even iOS 18.1 Beta 2 coming very soon. This is your weekly Apple News update for the week of August 4th through August 9th, 2024. Now, Apple this week actually changed the rules for linking to external sources for purchases outside the App Store. This was to comply with rules in the European Union. They've actually published this here. You can see their different support website. And for those of them actually doing this in the EU, they introduced a new fee structure with a store service fee and initial acquisition fee. This is companies such as Epic Games and Spotify very frustrated, saying this is a junk fee and against the law. We'll probably hear more about this from the European Union, and I'm sure we'll hear more from other game makers as well as developers. Let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Now, Apple's SuperDrive, which is an external DVD and CD player and burner, is out of stock, leading many people to believe it's basically vintage at this point or discontinued. If we go to the Apple Store, you can see it was in stock for some time, but now it says it's sold out and it's currently unavailable. This is something I've actually had for a very long time that goes along with a Mac that doesn't have a CD or DVD drive. However, most people don't use these anymore. It's basically USB-A and allows you to use CDs, DVDs, or make your own as well. So maybe they'll have something new with USB-C, or maybe they've just discontinued it altogether, as we don't really have many needs for these anymore. Some who have been using the macOS Sequoia betas have actually been comparing it to Windows Vista lately. So if you're using any of the recent releases, people are saying that basically there's just too many prompts to allow permissions for apps or whatever you're doing. There's actually a weekly prompt designed to ask you for permissions regularly on a reboot or just regularly throughout a week if you haven't used it for a while. I thought this was just a bit of a bug for now, but it seems it's intentional and to make everything secure. However, it's a step too far, I think, for a lot of people, and maybe it needs to be dialed back a bit, as it seems like every time you go into an app you haven't used for a week, it prompts you if you want to allow different permissions, whether it's locations or other things. There should be an option to turn this off, and they've even made it harder to sort of turn off some other permissions if you want to install apps that use additional permissions outside the App Store. So this is something I think Apple will continue to work on, but let me know what you think of that if you've been using it. Now, if you use 1Password for Mac, you need to make sure that you're on the latest update since July, as there was actually a serious vulnerability that was patched that would allow an attacker to steal your credentials and gain access to your account. 1Password actually posted about it. You can see here. I'll link this in the description, but as long as you're on the later version, 8.10.36 or later, you'll actually already have this patched. But if you haven't updated this in some time, I would highly recommend it, and just thought I'd let you know. A ruling against Google this week in the United States found that the deal they have with Apple to make Google the default search engine actually violates antitrust laws. It's default on your iOS device, Mac, and iPad, and you can see we have other options, but it's currently the default. Google pays Apple billions of dollars each year to take the default place, and now this ruling has taken place, some have suggested that Apple could build its own search engine. However, I would imagine Apple will just offer a choice for now when you first set up an iPhone, and will probably just pick Google anyway if you don't default to something else. However, according to a site, The Information, they've actually said that Apple has already been working on a search engine since 2022. Maybe they've been getting ready for something like this, maybe we'll see a difference in the future, but either way, you can still change it here if you'd like to whatever's available. However, I would like to see this list expanded as different search engines grow. With ChatGPTs having their own, or OpenAI, I would love to see additions added to this a little bit later. Apple Arcade is getting 3 new games this coming September with NFL Retro Bowl 25, Monster Train Plus, and Puzzle Sculpt for Vision Pro. You can see it on Apple's newsroom press release, and if we scroll down, you'll see Retro Bowl 25, more details about that, along with Monster Train Plus and a spatial game called Puzzle Sculpt. So those will be available in September, probably around the launch of iOS 18. According to Forbes, Apple is planning to block any website from accessing the 0.0.0.0 IP address in Safari 18 with macOS Sequoia. That would trickle down to macOS Ventura as well. A cybersecurity group found a 0-day vulnerability that could allow access to your internal network when accessing that specific website. So this looks like it's going to be patched in the future if they haven't done it already and just not told us. So that should be patched hopefully very soon. When it comes to weekly Apple deals, well, there's some big ones when it comes to the iPad Pro 13-inch M4 version. This actually has up to $350 off, sold from Apple on Amazon. There's also discounts on the MacBook Air M2 and M3 up to $250 off. 10th gen iPad gets up to $100 off, and Beat Studio Pro are down to $208. I'll link all of those in the description if you want to check them out yourself. Now, we had a lot of releases this week with iOS 18 Beta 5, Public Beta 3, and iOS 17.6.1 released to the public, along with updates for older devices as well. We can expect updates to some of those this coming Monday, probably with iOS 18 Beta 6 on Monday, and we're also expecting iOS 18.1 Beta 2 with some updates to Apple Intelligence. Hopefully we'll see that on Monday or Tuesday. Usually they'll release one and then the other the next day, but lately they've been maybe sometimes releasing them the same day. When it comes to iOS 17.7, we could see that next month as Apple released iOS 16.7 without any RC or betas to the public in September last year. So I would expect a similar release schedule from here on out. Now, Apple Intelligence is coming soon and initially will be free, but some have suggested that it could have some features that are part of sort of a paywalled Apple Intelligence Plus. Mark Gurman has suggested this in the past, and now Counterpoint Research has actually said Apple could offer Apple Intelligence as part of the Apple One plan they already have. It would cost between $10 to $20 extra per month and give you additional features. Now, so far, Apple Intelligence is pretty great and does things in the background, but I don't know that it's worth $10 or $20 per month at this point. In fact, I personally wouldn't pay that with its current feature set. So maybe Apple has some things planned that go along with iPhone 16. An iPhone 16 is said to support Apple Intelligence and be one of the major features on all devices this year. However, some have thought that that could lead to a delay as far as the actual release date, since iOS 18.1 isn't expected until October, and that's where we'll see Apple Intelligence. However, according to Mark Gurman, iPhone 16 is still set to launch at the same time as we get every year. So it looks like production is well underway, and Apple prepares to make millions of these to get ready for September every year, and it looks like that's underway, according to ET News. Samsung and LG have ramped up production to what is expected to be 30% more than last year, or about 120 million units by the end of the year. That's up from 90 million last year. Also, Foxconn has been hiring more employees to get that ready and build all of the different iPhones for September. So we're expecting millions to be available, and hopefully there'll be more than enough so we don't run into any delays or anything else. They've been doing pretty good lately, but overall, I think we'll have more than enough ready when it's time to launch, at least according to the latest information. When it comes to the next iPad, well, this year Apple introduced the iPad Pro with a new OLED display manufactured by Samsung, and now Samsung is expected to supply OLED panels for a change to an upcoming iPad Air model in 2026. I would imagine they'll roll that out to all the different models eventually, but the iPad Air will get that in a couple years, it seems. But at least they've already got the suppliers lined up, and I really like this OLED panel. It doesn't seem to bother my eyes for some reason and does a great job and looks fantastic. So I definitely would love to see these OLED panels in more devices, and if you're sensitive to PWM, well, I would try one out either way, as they seem to be much better. Mac Mini is set to get its largest redesign since Steve Jobs introduced it many years ago, back in 2010. Since that time, Apple has mostly kept the exact same form factor, and it looks like it's going to look more like what we have with the new Apple TV. We'll have a few different ports, it'll be super small, and have the M4 chipset internally. Now we should see that redesigned Mac Mini with this smaller design by the end of the year. It's also expected to jump right to that M4, like I said, with enhanced performance, the neural engine increases, and Apple Intelligence features. The ports are also expected to include HDMI. You can see we can fit it on Apple TV, as well as a power port and a few different USB-C ports. I would still love to see them maybe include an SD card in the front or on the side, but it's hard to say if they'll actually do that. But basically, those that have been working on it say that it's an iPad Pro M4 inside, just inside of a small box. This is all according to Mark Gurman in his Power On newsletter. Mark Gurman says to also expect an update to the Mac Studio, Mac Pro, and iMac with M4. However, the Mac Pro and Mac Studio could get the M4 Ultra or M4 Extreme that we've been hearing about. Maybe we'll get some big updates with that, but again, we'll have to wait and see, but it looks like at least some of them will come before the end of the year. And so that's everything this week with Apple Intelligence, iOS 18, Mac, iPhone, and iPad. Let me know if you're planning to get an iPhone 16. I have a separate video showing off some of the different colors on these models. Let me know what you think of those in the comments below. And of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.